Phone on silent. Yeah. Hey guys, good morning. It's the weekend, and but we can't end a weekend without a knowledge kind of session. And I respect this man next to me. This is Radhesh, who's the co-founder of Arka Venture Labs, and he's going to talk about why they're going to invest in SaaS B2B companies or B2B SaaS, right? Which is a big thing, Radesh. Everyone's talking about it. The recent event SaaS Boom, he talked about making 1,000 unicorns out of SaaS companies. But welcome to the show. Welcome to Bangalore. How are you?
Doing good, Vishal. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Thanks for being on the show. Let's start this with your philosophy and your moorings in life. You were a corporate guy with IBM for 17 years.
Yeah.
And directly jumped into becoming a VC.
Right.
How was that shift? Most of them go set up their own company and then try to become a VC after they sell. But you moved straight away into being a VC.
Yeah.
Different chops, different style. What happened?
Yeah. So I'll give you a background about what I did in IBM. So I joined IBM in 2000. Started as a tech specialist in the services group of IBM. Then I went on to become a software architect. I was designing solutions for enterprise clients, system integrators, ISVs, across a range of technologies, right from security to application servers to database to application monitoring, business intelligence. So actually that kind of gave me a very good
perspective of business.
Technology, and then I used to lead a lot of these solutions that I had designed to sales closure.
Okay.
So it kind of helped me a lot in terms of what are the mechanics of a particular sale, and then also
interesting. So they pulled you to business eventually.
So the last 3.5 years, basically, I was heading the startup initiative of IBM India.
Okay.
So that was kind of a business role where I figured out a way for IBM to engage with startups, and it was pretty successful in terms of how IBM had engaged with startups.
What kind of startups did you meet at that point of time? Must have been a very different time. I see the world's changed for the last 4 or 5 years. The narratives have changed so much into AI and machine learning.
Sure.
What kind of themes were you in charge of in IBM before you became a VC?
Yeah, so basically I took a conscious decision. So I took up that role in 2014, and I took a conscious decision that I need to just focus only on B2B startups.
Okay.
I think that's probably that's a forte of IBM, and kind of it makes a lot of sense for us to just focus on B2B. So we just kind of set aside the B2C and said let's do that, and kind of work very well for IBM. It resulted in a strong contribution for the IBM cloud revenue.
Okay. So you did that, and then when you move out of a big animal like IBM, it's a big elephant, right? Big organization. And when you move out, you're starting out on your own.
Yeah, it's an entrepreneur role.
So how tough was it when you moved out and you're a VC, and in this generation everybody focuses on brand building.
Yeah.
And you had to set up a fund.
Yeah.
Is it important to meet great co-founders when you set up a fund? How did that happen?
Yeah,
Talk about the initial days of you being a VC, and what was the thesis, hypothesis, and meeting all these other co-founders.
Yeah, so basically how I saw this particular gap in B2B startups in India, where I think there was a need for focused initiative towards them in terms of funding, in terms of mentoring, in terms of helping them scale. And that's when I took this idea to Bloom Ventures and said that is it possible to set up a B2B focused accelerator fund. And so I approached them in 2017, and they said that we can do that in 2018. Simultaneously, what happened, Yash, who is
one of your co-founders.
One of the co-founders. So he's a partner in BGV. He had approached Bloom about a similar concept.
Okay.
And so that's how the ideas merged. And Bloom, good friends with Emergent, and they pulled in Emergent Venture folks. So that's how the 3 funds came in together and formed.
So it's a confluence of 3 funds.
So they are the anchor LPs, and
Nice.
a very, I would say, strong contribution coming from Yash, Alok, Ankur, and Sanjay from Bloom Venture. Sanjay is the managing partner.
Sanjay Nath.
Sanjay Nath.
So it's Bloom, BGV, and Emergent that got together.
They got together and
it became Arka.
Arka Venture Labs. So they are the anchor
Okay.
partners into Arka Venture Labs.
Talk about that period of time. This is amazing, right? A few years ago, you wouldn't have thought about. You would have known these guys through your IBM program.
Yeah. And but I knew the Bloom.
Correct. Some of them you'd know also.
Yeah.
But to get these three individuals together, you want to talk about that situation where was there a point when all four of you or five of you decided four of you decided that let's do this?
Yeah, absolutely. Then it was basically converging of the ideas together and making it work together.
And the gaps were what? What were the gaps that you guys wanted to address?
So basically, if you see the talent out here, that's enormous talent in technology and basically customer servicing or getting or maybe digital marketing. And the cost of the resources out here are way lesser as compared to the resources that you would get in US or Europe or any other developed nation. So you have a great talent, but the market out there is there in the US in terms of the breadth and depth, in terms of the sales cycles that we like to get through, lesser sales cycles and a bigger margins. Okay. So it always kind of makes sense for any B2B startups
to go there.
So
that was the biggest gap.
So
and that's the thesis also, that let's take great talented individuals, B2B ideas, SaaS,
B2B startups,
okay, and take them from here to the US.
Right.
The market there is larger, and the sales cycles are longer, but the margins are better.
Sales cycles
are shorter. Yeah. Very nice.
And the margins are much better there.
Okay.
And what is the barrier is that probably I would, again, that's where the thesis is in terms of the barrier is funds, mentoring, and then access to the ecosystem there. And I think I would say the trust factor is also kind of one of the barriers there.
So it's funding, mentoring, access, and trust. That's what you take to these guys. It's nice. So this started last year?
It started last year in July.
And you've already made two investments. You want to talk about it a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. The first investment we made in a company called RevSales. They are in the CPQ space for small and medium enterprises. So CPQ is basically configure RevSales. They are configure price quote is basically if you have a very complex bill of material, you would typically use a CPQ engine to put in the requirements of the customer and then come out with a quote. Now, what happens is that there are market leaders there, but they are extremely expensive and they are focused on large enterprises. For the small and medium enterprises, I think the very few players are there, and that's where RevSales plays. So they are CPQ for small and medium enterprises with a dash of AI into that. The founders are serial entrepreneurs. One of them had an exit to Freshdesk, worked there for a few years.
In Freshdesk. Okay, now called Freshworks, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Correct.
Okay, so seasoned entrepreneurs. Okay, that was at a pre-revenue, post-revenue stage.
This is the pre-revenue stage. We made this investment along with Lightspeed Ventures.
Okay, and what was the other one?
Other one is a company called Primaseller, and they are a point of sale applications with integrations with omnichannels like Shopify, Magento. Their typical customer size is companies with 1 to 10 stores. They have quite a few presence in US, and they also help in inventory optimization in terms of placing the inventory, appropriate inventory levels across the different stores.
Interestingly, right, both these are sort of customer acquisition, one in the B2B side and one in the B2C kind of side.
No, B2B.
Both B2B, right?
We are only focused on B2B startups.
The POS applications, they work with Shopify, Magento and all that for Primaseller.
Yeah.
And it's B2B2C or B2B?
Purely B2B.
Purely B2B.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. So these technologies work in India or they're global in nature?
So they have development all happens here. The customer servicing happens here. But the market is happening to kind of
So they're already selling there?
They're already selling there, yeah.
So,
and they want to
talk about that, right? Our startups are between 18 to 35.
Yeah.
Most of them are in the B2B space also.
Right.
I mean, obviously B2C very little.
Right.
But in the B2B space, some of them do pilots in India.
Yeah.
And then obviously try to go to Southeast Asia.
Sure.
At what point of stage do you say that entry to different markets, should they start with Southeast Asia first, Europe first, or then come to America? Or if they have a proof of concept ready in India, running with a few customers, say 10 customers here, going to the USA is easier.
Now, I would say basically look global from day one, kind of, and see if you can get strategic investors or strategic partners for you to pour into the global market. So that's what my advice would be. If you're not, then probably look around for the local markets and then probably think about, but always think global.
Always think global, is it? Well, people keep saying think global. By thinking global, does it mean getting used to the SOPs of a global organization, a larger organization, or what is it?
So markets, I would say.
Okay.
So if the market is pretty good enough, so it could be a small and medium enterprises in US and Europe. That market itself is pretty big.
It
so
is huge.
Just go for that, or you say that you want to focus on few large enterprises, but which are global in nature, multinationals. But
Radhesh, the other interesting thing is with so many SaaS players going out of India and into the US, the typical US organization, the CTO gives you time, or who looks at all these ideas going to them?
So that's where I think the connects as well as the trust factor comes into
very well said.
Yeah, so that's in terms of the connects, the way we would like to put it up is that now each of these funds has a network of corporates as well as VCs. That's secondary, but they have the network of corporates and the network of mentors. Arka itself is now onboarding a network of mentors and advisors. So idea is that they can help in terms of not only providing insights onto their particular product or product market fit, pricing strategy and stuff like that, but also help to connect to whoever they can within their particular network. And we are also trying to onboard corporates onto Arka Venture Labs.
It's interesting you say this, that it's when you sign up with a VC, it is the entrepreneur should demand skin in the game in terms of access, and that's what you provide.
That's what we want to provide, and it's going to be hands-on mentoring, and we have a strong background and
obviously
technology. Myself, Yash, Alok, Sanjay, Ankur, all are very much focused on B2B startups, and everybody brings in their own set of complementary skills to assist the startups.
What's the size of the fund?
So we have raised $4.5 million, and we would like to close somewhere between $6 to $9 million.
Okay, why is thesis start small? I mean, and it's interesting you said one of the rounds will be $1 million.
Which one?
You said one of the rounds would be a larger round. When you've raised only 4.5 million,
right?
You think it's going to be a seed stage investment, but it's not so.
Yeah, exactly. So we have we would put up to 200K, and we kind of feel that that's good enough for the startup to make an entry into the US.
So that'd be probably 10-member team. You want to scale to the US now?
Could be 10-member team. I mean, it's been a very different. So we have made 2 investments, as I said. 2 investments we will be making in the month of February. I may not be able to tell the names, but one of the company is into customer data platform. Basically, they kind of create a single identity of the customer from his various interactions to an enterprise, whether it's social media like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or it could be the website of the enterprise, or it could be emails and telephones. So they kind of, using machine learning, they create a single identity and tell that this is the same customer who has been interacting with the enterprise. Typically, I've seen solutions which are like creating a single identity using common emails across the different interactions, or
correct, and they don't use
very nice. So they have 30 plus customers in India, and they would want to foray into the
very nice
US, and I think there are 80 member.
How do you get these kind of entrepreneurs? Do they write to you?
Yeah, so I mean it's a combination of they applying to Arka.vc, they put in their application there.
So you heard that, guys, at Arka.vc you got to go apply. You got to send your business plan.
Yeah, we have a form where they can put up the business plan. Then there's a network of the three funds, so they also pass on those which are not fitting their
Okay, investment thesis.
investment thesis.
So
or
that
ticket size.
thesis is very different, is it?
I
Is
mean,
it?
so basically, the investment thesis obviously kind of has to match in terms of the ticket sizes and the stage of the startups. So it's basically then they would pass it on to Arka Venture Labs. So when there are some startups who would like to approach only Arka, saying that we are just focusing on the US and then we want to approach you as a first primary.
We talked about AI a bit, and a lot of people would probably be coming and telling we are an AI startup.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've raised this many times in the past.
Right.
How many of them are really AI?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I would say I think AI is an evolution in the evolution stage. So if you look into AI, as you want to break up the nitty-gritties of AI. So I would say first is image recognition. Basically, give out an image and then the system tells that what is that particular object. Second is, I would say, natural language understanding. So it reads a text and then tries to find out what that text is all about, as if comprehending as if a human is reading that particular text and understanding the sentiments and stuff like that. The third, I would put it as speech to text, text to speech. Now, broadly, I would put it as these three categories. Now, if you would look into image recognition, there are quite a few applications in across industries.
Security, especially.
Yeah, surveillance is very strong. So they kind of put up a camera, and the camera can basically, using image recognition and image processing, then they can tell that whether there is a entry into a premise at a given point of time where nobody is supposed to walk in to actually.
So that's going to replace your fingerprint, maybe, and.
No, in terms of surveillance, for example.
Okay, like what China does, the way it tracks everybody walking and they know the identity.
Maybe not to that extent, but let's say there's a large industrial house and they want to set up perimeter cameras along the perimeter. Typically, if you see that you will have a guard sitting in
usually there's a guard
control room and he sees all the
that's automated now.
That's automated. There are quite a few solutions there. So, for example, if anybody walks into a particular camera, immediately there will be an alert and say that somebody has breached the. You can define boundaries around the like the manufacturing unit and say that it's a digital like a virtual boundary you can define, and you can say that anybody walks beyond that particular boundary, immediately throw up an alert, or you can say that if more than five people are kind of so it can basically do like people count. More than five people are congregating at a particular point, throw up an alert. So it's kind of that's where image recognition is pretty much used. The other use cases could be that compliance. Let's say if on a factory floor, I would like to ensure that everybody has a helmet on.
That's a very nice point. So there are many applications, right?
Lots of them.
But would you like an entrepreneur who brings this as a point solution or a full stack service?
Yeah, I mean, depends on kind of I would say the use case. So if it has got a good market business sense, it could be a point solution or it could be a full stack solution.
A full stack would be not just the technology, but also do the data analytics, the parsing, and giving reports.
Yeah.
And also customer service. Would that be full stack for you? What is full stack?
Full stack would be like I can take care of the entire maybe let's say if I take example of onboard surveillance. So I will not only take care of the analytics of the thing, but I'll also provide you cameras and
the whole thing, and maintain them
and maintain them. That's but a kind of case to case.
Okay. Interesting point. Okay, so AI is here to stay.
100%, and it's going to go. As I say, I think that technology is going to get much better, and the use cases are going to get much better.
Right?
Yeah, you see all those sci-fi movies.
Yeah, we've seen that, and I think you're absolutely right when you say it's sci-fi movies. Things like you look at those tabs in a lot of movies in Blade Runner especially. It was shot in 81, but they're all a reality now.
Yeah.
Right, and it is true. A lot of science fiction. It's driving your imagination. I think that's what entrepreneurs do, right?
Yeah.
What piques your interest in terms of entrepreneurs when they come to you? How do you decide that this man, this lady has got a great idea?
Yeah, so I think one of the key thing is the passion in the founder. That's very critical. And second is the articulation. It's to the point, very crisp in terms of what's the value proposition. I really like that, and I think other founders also would agree to that.
Okay.
And basically what's the business problem they're solving, how they're solving it, how big is the market size, what's the competitive landscape, what are the differentiating points against the existing competitive landscape, whether it's technology or economics.
Okay, technology, economics, but they have to be precise to the point.
Yep.
Sometimes a lot of people have confidence. They have great ideas, exuberate confidence. Would you like to bet on people with just ideas? Like in the US, a lot of ideas are bet on, right? With just paper presentations.
Right.
And obviously, maybe they have great academic skills.
Right.
Has that happened?
No, as a policy, we are looking at only startups having at least the MVP ready. So they should be able to demonstrate whatever they are saying. So that's one of our key requirement.
Okay, so they have to demonstrate what they're doing. So they have to have an MVP ready, maybe a couple of customers using it. And
customers is still fine.
It's okay.
Because we have made one investment that's pre-revenue.
Right.
Second one is they have got customers in the US, and the third is actually they have many customers, more customers I would say.
Okay.
So customers is, I mean, even if they don't have, it's fine. But ideally we would love to have them with customers.
With customers. So they can write to you. Do you have an email that you want to share, or is there a form at the Arka Venture? What would you advise?
Yeah, so they typically I would say put in the form, and we regularly go through the particular form.
You don't miss any?
No.
How many? You must be getting a good deal flow.
Yeah, I mean, so far we have 120 applications. So
you have 120 applications, is it? And do you get time to look at each of them?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay. Most of the startups come and ask me, now that you have so many 120 people who put in their forms or listed, again, what gets your interest? In 20 seconds, you have 20 seconds per presentation that you look at, or 1 minute, 2 minutes?
No, actually, pretty much we put a lot of effort in each of the forms. So
but that doesn't mean they can give you gibberish, right? They can give you 20, 30
of
slides.
Of course, if they're not well written, just half one-liner, and then obviously it kind of doesn't pass through that.
So what should they present? If they present to you good, what do you look for?
Yeah, clearly articulated
idea
responses.
So market size up front, or what are you solving up front?
We have put up all these questions.
Oh, you put that up. So they have to read through that now.
Yeah, they have to read through that and put up those answers. So I will tell you, in terms of 120 applications, I think we had conversations with 50 of them. So that's a big ratio in terms of.
That's very nice. That's almost half.
Almost
40 to 45%.
Yeah.
That's a good conversion, guys. So when you go to their website, just don't go rush and fill the form. They have the do's and don'ts.
Right.
You can read through that. That's pretty much updated.
Which one?
The do's and don'ts of filling the form. What do you fill for a form?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, we have asked what are the questions, like, for example, what business problem you're solving, how you're solving.
Or you productized it. So that way you can, that's great. So if those you've rejected, the 60 or so that you've rejected, why did you reject them?
Either we felt it doesn't follow the investment thesis of Arka, maybe their market is more towards India, or kind of maybe they are not ready at the moment, or maybe the market size is not big enough. So that's basically some of the reasons.
Entrepreneurship is tough. Radhesh, the reason is I used to play a lot of cricket.
Right.
And, there used to be selections on a yearly basis.
Right.
And thousands of kids would be called onto the nets.
Right.
And,
out of that you select just.
And out of that you just select, 30 people. And it's very hard on the selectors. We used to hate the selectors, right, in those days. Right. But the things that would work out is you get runs in your league games, or get wickets in the league games.
Right.
So if I draw that analogy, startups go to customers and the customers validate, right? Sometimes.
And then big validation.
And then you guys take interest. You don't have to come for the selection, and then the customer says, anybody who knows you will say, look at this startup, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So customer validation is a very strong point for any startup to kind of approaches.
No, but that happens only in the US. Do you see any customers coming here and saying, "Hey, we've got an interesting startup"?
Oh no, I mean to say customer recommending a startup. So far, I've not seen.
Not yet. I hope customers watching, please, if you're working with a startup, do recommend them to Arka if you feel they're good. Do support the ecosystem. What are your interests, quickly, before we close? What are your interests? How do you spend time other than being a VC?
Yeah, so I kind of I do yoga. Then I'm learning music.
Okay. What are you learning?
Hindustani.
Nice. Do you have a master?
Hindustani vocal. No, I'm just learning that.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, and then I'm into meditation. So
That's one thing that I liked about Alok and Ankur and you, right? And all of you are into meditation, which is nice. Is that a common bond also between you?
just happened, I guess.
It just happened. So would you recommend meditation?
100% to anyone.
To anyone? Has it helped? How has it helped, really? Share some insight there, please.
Yeah, so I follow the Shiv Yoga practice. So one is that I mean the whole transition from a corporate life to a VC
Not
would
easy.
actually attribute to meditation.
Okay, it's that tough, is it?
No. I mean, so it kind of gives you.
It gives you. I'm just
clarity
kidding
of-
there. It gives you clarity of thought.
Yeah.
And would you recommend startup entrepreneurs to take time off and do maybe a sport, maybe meditation,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
just for the sake of clarity? And that's
I mean, you get clarity on you kind of understand yourself better, and then I think fundamental thing is you try to understand what you want out of life, and so that kind of
brings it out. Any books that you're reading?
Yeah, so I'm not a big reader, but I have two favorite books. One is called The Autobiography of a Yogi.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
A very famous book.
Very famous book. And then the other book is Living with the Himalayan Masters. So those are my two favorite books.
You know, you'd be surprised that Ray Dalio, the Bridgewater hedge fund, right?
Yeah.
It's a $150 billion company or hedge fund.
Yeah.
The man meditates,
All right.
and he's written a book, Principles, where he
Right.
talks about meditation being a single source of energy for him in terms of clarity.
Yeah.
So why is clarity important? You also mentioned earlier that everything that you do, even the presentation, should have clarity.
Right.
Most of us are all over the place. I
Yeah.
keep meeting founders who do 20 slides, 30 slides, and they're just all over the place and they're not able to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Is clarity also a form of storytelling?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you say? Can you share with us an instance that helped you clarify or talk very directly with your customers and with great thought and power? Can you give me an example of any instance or something?
In terms of how clarity has helped
how
me?
clarity has helped you.
I mean, I used to do a lot of sales calls when I was with IBM. I was kind of selling the solution which I used to design, and the solutions were quite complex in nature. So it kind of helped to put that things in right perspective. For example, the solution components could be a combination of an application server, databases with business intelligence, with an ETL tool, and so I have to basically break it down into components and explain what each of these components do, and go to the next level in terms of how do they do, and then connect this whole dots and tell them that if these work together in one single solution, how it's going to help you as a customer.
It's amazing you need only 2 minutes to explain things because the attention spans are less.
Yeah.
Because people are doing so many things in a day.
Right.
And so you need to be clear in your thoughts.
Clearer thoughts. But in this case, in the case of a customer, like I used to have around 1 hour of presentation, and so that. But wherever it is, like if I think it's very important to have the clarity of thoughts, and the mind keeps I mean, I'll tell you, this is one of my you know this E equal to MC square, right?
Yes.
It's not mine. This is my guru's analogy. So not analogy, he kind of thesis. So E equal to MC square is energy equal to mass into velocity of light whole square. So if you see energy and mass are proportional to each other. Now the energy is basically vibrations, and now and the thoughts actually create those vibrations. So, which means that like whatever we think is kind of gets converted into thoughts, which gets converted into vibrations, and which get converted into energy, and that gets translated into mass. So, which is that like in life, whatever we have, like it's a house or a car, all at one point were thoughts created as. If you have a very strong clarity on the thoughts, you can actually create the mass, which is whatever you kind of.
So that's an amazing point of view, because if you guys are watching and you really want to connect with Arka Ventures, come to VCs with clarity. They, just like you, they meet lots of people. They have very little time, but they're here to help you. And if you are a B2B SaaS company, please write to Radhesh. And Radhesh, thank you. It's been a brilliant morning conversation.
Thanks.
I'll pick you up on that E is equal to MC squared at some point of time. I love physics, but I want to talk about the thoughts in terms of meditation also.
Sure.
I'll get in touch with you guys. We'll see you soon.
See you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Radhesh.
you.
Thank you. It was brilliant. So, how long have you been meditating?
6 years.
6 years now.
Yeah.
It's very nice. A lot of people have gotten into it,
Yeah.
and most of the CEOs do meditate.
Oh yeah.
High stress jobs.
Yeah. Correct.
Amazing. Thank you for your time. I really love this. Thank you. I hope a lot of good startups come to you. And